In the Margins of Dreams, The Ghosts of Ueda Akinari. Translated from French. It is often in the margins that the most singular geniuses nestle. Son of an unknown father and an all-too-known mother, a courtesan from the pleasure quarters, Ueda Akinari, 1734–1809, saw his mother only once, when he was already a grown man and celebrated writer. Adopted by a merchant family in Osaka, his existence was marked by this original shame upon which his enemies never hesitated to attack him. My enemies say of me, he is an avaricious child. Worse still, he is some offspring of an aged pimp. To which I reply, in any case, I am in my mountain the sole general and I know no peer there. Added to this was an infirmity of the fingers that prevented him from perfect calligraphy, paradoxically orienting him, the proud young man little inclined to commerce, toward a relentless intellectual and literary quest. From this troubled existence, from this raw sensitivity, would be born his masterpiece, The Tales of Rain and Moon. Of Sources and Dreams. Published in 1776, these 9 fantastic tales mark a turning point in the literature of the Edo period. Akinari, breaking with the tales of the floating world, a frivolous genre then in vogue, inaugurates the manner of the yomihon, or reading book, aimed at a cultivated public to whom he offers a space of dream and escape. The originality of his approach lies in a masterful synthesis between Chinese narrative traditions and Japanese literary heritage. While he draws abundantly from collections of fantastic tales from the Ming and Qing dynasties, such as the Tales by Candlelight,
简灯新画,
he never contents himself with a simple translation or servile adaptation. Each tale is entirely Japanized, transposed into a national historical and geographical framework and, above all, transfigured by a unique melancholy. To continental sources, Akinari blends with consummate art the reminiscences of his country's classical literature. The influence of no theatre is everywhere perceptible, not only in the gestures and physiognomies, vengeful spirits, warrior ghosts, desperate lovers, but also in the very composition of the tales, which skillfully arrange the distancing from the world, and the dramatic progression up to the appearance of the supernatural. Similarly, the elegant and flowery prose, Gabon, is a vibrant homage to the golden age of the Heian period, and particularly to the tale of Genji, Genji Monogatari, a ghostly humanity. What strikes in the Tales of Rain and Moon is that the world of spirits is never entirely cut off from that of the living. Far from being simple monsters, Akinari's ghosts are endowed with a complex personality, often richer and more original than that of the humans they come to haunt. Their appearances are motivated by powerfully human feelings, fidelity beyond death, scorned love, devouring jealousy, or inextinguishable hatred. The spectre is often merely the extension of a passion that could not be satisfied or appeased in the earthly world. Its voice, coming from beyond the grave, speaks to us with troubling modernity about ourselves. Thus with Miyagi, the abandoned wife who, in the house among the reeds, waits 7 years for the return of her husband who left to seek his fortune. Dead from exhaustion and sorrow, she appears to him one last night before becoming nothing more than a burial mound, upon which this heartbreaking poem is found. So it was, I knew it, and yet my heart lulled itself with illusions. In this world, until this day, was this, then, the life I have lived? The fantastic in Akinari is therefore not a simple mechanism of horror, it is the magnifying mirror of the soul's torments. Spectres come to remind the living of their failings, the moral consequence of their acts, the vengeance of a betrayed wife, or the loyalty of a friend who takes his own life to keep his promise. Are so many parables about the force of commitments and the fatality of passions. The Chiseler of Chimeras. Akinari's style is undoubtedly what confers upon the work its permanence. He combines the nobility of classical language with a sense of rhythm inherited from No, creating a singular music that bewitches the reader. The very title, Ugetsu, Rain and Moon, translates this bewitching melody into an image, that of moonlight blurring in the murmur of fine rain, establishing an ideal setting for supernatural manifestations, a spectral world where the boundaries between dream and reality fade. An independent artist, Akinari took nearly 10 years to polish his masterpiece, a sign of the importance he attached to it, an intellectual independence that also manifested itself in his virulent polemics with the other great scholar of his time, Matori Narinaga, a nationalist before his time. While the latter erected Japan's ancestral myths as the only truth, Akinari mocked this ideal by asserting that in any country, the spirit of the nation is its stench. Thus, this son of a courtesan knew how, through the sole force of his art, to establish himself as a central figure, a perfect anarchist who, by playing with conventions, brought the fantastic tale to an unequalled degree of refinement. His singularities, which required particular courage in a Japanese society that erected conformity as the supreme virtue, did not fail to fascinate Mishima Yukio, who confesses in modern Japan and the samurai ethics to having carried Akinari's work with him during the bombings and admired above all his deliberate anachronism. The Tales of Rain and Moon are not merely an anthology of the genre, they are a reinvented image of storytelling in the Japanese manner, where the marvelous and the macabre compete with the most delicate poetry, leaving the reader under the lasting charm of a strange and magnificent dream.